Okay, we're recording. Hi everybody, my name is Kirsty Melmid. For some of you, this is the first time you're seeing my face. I'm the new treasurer of the SATAA. Thank you so much for the nomination, and I'm really excited to be on the executive committee. So today I'm going to be having a chat with Denise Hunt. Denise is a fellow coach, and I first met you when I did my coach training with Karen, and you were one of the mentors in our group. And in fact, you were the very first person to ever coach me because, you know, a part of the training, we all took turns being coached and coaching, and you were the first person to ever coach me. So I'll always remember you, especially for that. So thanks.
It's a lovely claim to fame. Hi.
Yeah.
It's good to be here with you in a different role and being interviewed by you as treasurer. Congratulations on this appointment.
Thank you. So I think to begin, why don't you share with everybody kind of who you are and what you're doing at the moment?
Great. So yes, you've heard that I'm Denise Hunt, and what I currently do and what I've been doing for a living for the last 5 years is I run my own leadership development practice called Denise Hunt Global. And if I look back over my whole career, which as you can see from the grey hair has been a considerable one, probably the thread that's tied together all the different roles that I've had has been a passion to activate and awaken not only leadership, but life potential, purpose potential, and play are the three things that I like to name that I think are important to help people discover. So yes, for the last 5 years, I've coached amazing people from 44 different countries in different profit and non-profit sectors. And I also coach, supervise coaches. So I supervise coaches. I do some strategic facilitation work. As you can hear, I like a bit of diversity. I get very excited by transformation. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. And prior to that, I had a couple of chapters of different CEO roles, nationally and internationally.
I was going to ask what kind of led you into the coaching arena, because it sounds like you have a special interest, or like you said, in leadership development. And yeah, tell us a little bit about what led you there.
Yeah, so it was an interesting story really, because I did a coaching qualification when I was in a role as CEO of a particular international organization. And we had gone through radical restructuring, and we'd closed 20 clinics and retrenched about 130 people. So the organization was really ailing. We were quite wounded. And I did a coaching qualification to bring in a gentler style of leadership, a gentler type of leadership into the organization to try and heal and build trust. And through my coach training, I went on this amazing learning curve that I almost didn't anticipate. And somewhere along that line, and also linking with the knowledge that I had and of the experience of having my own executive coach, I just was struck by, I suppose, a pull to a different kind of lifestyle. And instead of being the change person, driving change in the organization, I actually opted to get alongside people in a much more meaningful, I think, and sort of conducive way as a coach. So, you know, within 6 months, once I'd had this vision, if you like, of a different kind of lifestyle, I'd actually exited my CEO job and set up my own practice. And yeah, here we are 5 years later.
Wow. I was thinking as you were describing that often people have this shift in their life where they go from focusing on ambition to focusing more on meaning. yeah, and as I was thinking that, you said, it's a lot more meaningful, and I just think it's wonderful when people recognize that that's kind of where the direction of their life is going, and they follow it. So much powerful work to be done. So that's
Absolutely.
great.
I mean, I certainly have often missed the paycheck, but I do feel that I'm really living within my purpose, and I love the work that I do, and I'm just, so grateful every day for the amazing clients that I have. So yeah, it's awesome. And I know your story is also in some ways similar. So yes.
Yes, going from tourism to this. Yeah. So okay, so bringing it to TA, when did you first discover, when were you first introduced to TA?
So obviously on my coaching training, TA came up, and I was blown away because in my 20s, which was a few years earlier, I was part of a volunteer counseling organization for about 7 years, and really passionate in those days about counseling. And I also ran a personal growth course, or facilitated on their personal growth course for a number of years. And TA was central to that. So it was interesting because over the years, I got on with my sort of corporate career, and it had gone to the recesses of my brain. It wasn't uppermost at all. I'd forgotten about it, frankly. And when it came up again in my coach training, I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And of course, by then, it had deepened, and certainly Karen's teaching of it had deepened into something even richer. So it was like completing a loop, as it were, from supervising counselors in those days. And suddenly here it was, me as the coach. And of course, now I also supervise coaches as well. So yeah, completed a lovely loop in a way. And there's so much yet to learn.
And so did you go on to do a TA 101, or kind of when did so you were introduced to it in the coach training and through the counseling. Did you take the studying any further?
So I did a TA for coaches, I think first actually, also with Karen Pratt, and then I did TA 101, and I've used it, I do use it, I would say really daily in my current practice. And even though I recognize that my actual training is at quite a, I suppose at quite a basic level in the scheme of things. And yet what I do find is that regardless of what country I'm working in or what client I'm working with, there are just so many instances where it's just such an incredibly accessible modality of making sense of interesting dynamics. For me, there's always that, relationship with self and then relationship with others. And I mean, those are constantly, I suppose, the complementing spaces that I work within, because, as humans and as leaders, we obviously have to attend to ourselves first, put on our own oxygen masks first, as it were. I love using TA in leadership as well as in personal work around, anchoring self first. So I find it very inspiring. And I also use a lot of neuroscience in my coaching and supervision. And it's so interesting the way they align and actually add something to each other.
So the neuroscience and the TA.
Indeed.
Can you speak to a little bit more about that? Perhaps a bit more about the neuroscience? I know for myself, I don't know all that much about it.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, life and leadership is about being able to recognize sort of a journey from sort of a primitive brain place, often a shutdown place, to a journey to wholeness, where we're working and functioning from our prefrontal cortex, which is where all the good stuff resides. So from wisdom to empathy to connection, to innovation, to problem solving. All that good stuff is here in our prefrontal cortex. And the opposite of that, of course, is where we are triggered and we are shut down. And there's a beautiful alignment between those, between that journey and then the TA, looking at sort of life positions and the journey to wholeness again, of functioning more and more consciously in a sort of I'm okay, you're okay zone. And then I love Karen Pratt's depiction of the three, the ego states with the I'm okay, you're okay box around them. So for me, functioning in that I'm okay, you're okay space, it really speaks to being in your prefrontal cortex in a conscious, intentional headspace and body space, as it were. So yeah, I suppose for me, they're both about wholeness, because I talk about neuroscience, but I mean, it's throughout your body. And of course, research is indicating more and more how, there's your heart brain and there's your gut brain. So it's a great alignment of the two modalities.
I always find it fascinating how people come with their own frame of reference and other modalities that they've studied or that they use, and how TA just always seems to fit in perfectly with whatever that frame of reference is. It's just such a universal language, like you were saying earlier. I think because it's so easy to understand, the language is very simple. I'm okay, you're okay is such simple language. And I think I stand to be corrected, but I think it was Eric Berne who said that if you can't explain a TA model to an 8-year-old, then you don't really understand it yourself, because it should be very simple. And it just fascinates me how all these different things kind of overlay on top of each other and make perfect sense.
I agree with you. Yeah, it's and I think that's the beauty of it, is that you can simplify it, and it can be so accessible to an executive, to somebody working in a C-suite space, and you can adapt it, I think, to sort of any situation. So yeah, I love that the adaptability, the accessibility, and the alignment, and of course the neuroscience-y bit. I love that that actually gives an evidence base to some of these terms that we've been thinking about since the 70s. The TA sort of terms from Eric Berne's days. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. I love joining, so that's something that, is, I suppose, something particular to my nature that I enjoy in our sort of coaching work.
Joining the dots and just kind of making meaning out of things.
And offering it to people so that they can actually do the same, make meaning of it for themselves. And figure out, their own scripting, or even put their own languaging to it.
So I wanted to ask, how do you kind of specifically use it, in a coaching session? Is it that it informs the way that you coach, or would you actually introduce the model to, like you said, a CEO, or kind of how do you work with it?
Well, it depends on the client. I've found that really no two coaching engagements are the same, or even supervision engagements are the same. So in the co-creation, it sort of either fits. You get clients who are very, really enjoy sort of tools and some theory, and other clients that, it just depends, I suppose, on the learning styles. So I would sometimes offer it. So quite often I would do a bit of scribbly on a piece of paper if it seemed to fit, and I would offer it to them, or ask them if they've got a way of making sense of what's happening. you know, sometimes they have their own way of making sense, and sometimes occasionally they'll bring it and have a knowledge of TA themselves. But if it makes sense, and it often does in culture, you know, organizational culture, in team sessions, one-on-one sessions, there are many different spaces where it just kind of makes a whole lot of sense. And it just gives people something to hang their hat on. So yes, often I would actually scribble and, you know, explain things and do it in a sort of co-creative way, and then perhaps back it up with, you know, sending a one-pager afterwards. And then I find it's very useful through a coaching journey to be able to reflect back on and use it as a lens as things start cropping up, and sort of deepen the awareness through the journey. So there is no one size fits all, but it kind of just often resonates. So I would offer it, and it either gains traction and is meaningful to a client or not, in which case I'm not attached to it, you know, just let it go.
I must say I've had a very similar experience with it, where I offer it up and see, you know, if it helps the person make sense of their situation. And I must say I have yet to come across an occasion when it doesn't. And it just shows how powerful it is. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Sorry, carry on.
I just wanted to commend you. It's been absolutely wonderful to see you growing in this, you know, in the TA space and the TA world. So it's really great that, you know, I feel like I'm learning from you, and, you know, you're sort of ahead of the curve. So it's cool. Yeah, it's lovely to see you loving it.
Thank you. And so where do you see yourself going on the TA journey? Are you working towards a CTA, or what are you thinking?
I don't think so, no. I'm very happy to use it where it fits. And I mean, I am a lifelong learner, so I no doubt will sort of deepen the learning and enjoy, you know, seeing people and experiencing fellow coaches and others use it in different ways. But I don't see myself taking on the formal journey. And yet that doesn't take anything away from, I think, the richness of, you know, what TA can offer to me.
Absolutely. And the last thing I wanted to ask, unless there's anything else that you wanted to add, is how have you found your experience of being a member of the SATAA?
So crazily, it's taken me so many years to just join. But so I've only just recently joined, as you perhaps know. But yeah, it's good. I mean, you've been so welcoming, even asking me to show up and have a chat, have an interview in this format. So it's so far so good. I'm really looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm enjoying the foundation course that I'm on as well, along with yourself. And just, you know, having an opportunity once a month with colleagues from around the world to be able to just think about our work and expand our learning and different principles. So it's a really rich experience, and I'm glad I finally joined.
Great. Well, it's lovely to have you as part of the SATA community. And we've got some webinars coming up this year, so hopefully you'll be able to join us for those, which are free to members. So there's always so much to learn, and I think that's why I love the organization so much, is because there's just all this opportunity and it's right at your fingertips. So very excited to be part of it. Is there anything else that you want to add? If anybody wants to find out more about your work, or perhaps if they've got something that might align with something that you're doing, how could they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yes, I'm very accessible. You'll find me on Facebook, on Denise Hunt Global, or my website is denisehuntglobal.com. and I'm also available on Instagram as Growing Global Leadership, which, as you've heard, is my passion. And my email address is also just a simple Denise@denisehuntglobal.com. So come and have a look, say hi on Facebook, Instagram, or reach out to me directly. Would love to look for synergies and see how we can work together, or think together, or be together, or grow together.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I think it's wonderful for members to get to know, who are the new members, even though you've been, part of TA for a while. But yeah, just to get a look in on what are you doing and how are people applying TA in different contexts. So I always find that quite fascinating. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to stop our recording now. And thank you. Bye.